evening and thank you for being with us. A local correctional officer charged with drug trafficking and breach of trust appeared in court today. 38-year-old Andy Jason Sainden was granted release from custody on $7,500 bail with strict terms included. The president of the union representing correctional officers at the jail says he's hoping this incident doesn't leave the public with a negative perception of his members. Corey Nordstrom has more.
Correctional officer Andy Sainden was charged with breach of trust and 5 trafficking-related offenses after being arrested outside his workplace on Wednesday. After spending a night inside a city police holding cell, he's now free on bail, awaiting his next court date. Bill Hayes is the OPSEU president at the Thunder Bay District Jail and has worked with Sainden for years. He wants the public to know this situation is rare, with the last similar incident happening many years ago.
It kind of leaves us, the rest of us officers, with kind of a black eye, and it's tough to come back from. We just have to wear it for the next few weeks. And all these officers are hardworking. They do a great job in there, working tirelessly to prevent contraband and stuff from coming in. So when you hear stories like that, it's kind of just a slap in the face.
Thunder Bay Police's intelligence unit began investigating in April, and following Sainden's arrest, a warrant was issued to search his vehicle, home, and workplace locker. Officers then found and seized a number of suspected drugs and paraphernalia consistent with trafficking, including cocaine, ecstasy, cannabis, and tobacco, in addition to more than $20,000 in Canadian currency. Detective Inspector John Fennell spoke on Wednesday about the breach of trust charge.
They're very concerning, and they're usually high level in a sense that you are in a trusted position. So therefore, that's why there is an extra weight on you to ensure that what you're doing is essentially lawful.
Police did a great job with their investigation, and we'll let things play out from there, but I think it's a major deterrent for anybody else thinking about doing anything similar to that.
City police say the investigation is still ongoing. One of the terms of Saiden's release is that he remain 100 feet from the Thunder Bay District Jail. His next court appearance is in September. Corey Nordstrom, TBT News.
Thunder Bay Police have arrested and charged a city woman in connection with a serious assault on Simpson Street yesterday. Police and paramedics were dispatched to the 100 block of Simpson just after 9 o'clock, following reports of an injured man who potentially was armed with a knife. When they arrived, they did locate the man and told him to drop the knife, which he did. They then learned he'd been the victim of an assault involving a weapon. A 40-year-old suspect was located just before noon. She's been charged with aggravated assault and appeared in court today. Meanwhile, things went from bad to worse for a Thunder Bay man who was arrested Wednesday night. He was initially taken into custody at the Water Street bus terminal, following reports someone had been throwing things from the overpass at people down below. But when police tried to arrest him, he became combative. He was finally transported to the Balmoral station, where he assaulted another officer. The 35-year-old now is facing charges of assaulting police and breach of probation. The Thunder Bay area's 2 federal MPs say they continue to be pleased with the local response to COVID-19. The city is now solidly into phase 2 of Ontario's reopening plan and looking ahead to phase 3. Both Marcus Pulowski and Patty Hajdu, the federal minister of health, believe the city has been very effective in containing the spread of the virus. Hajdu says that's largely due to great communication between officials at the district health unit and the regional hospital.
People have been able to respond really quickly to cases and do the contact tracing and really tamp out those embers, that it's so impressive. It doesn't mean that we don't have any risk here, though, and I think that's what's important to remember, is that even though these professionals are working really, really hard for all of us, that we have to do our part, which is following the public health advice. And people are sick of the pandemic. I think that's fair to say, but we don't want to see any kind of surge, particularly in Northern Ontario, where we know we have so many vulnerable people and a smaller healthcare system.
As we're ramping it up, if people start having symptoms, they need to contact public health and be tested. So if we start to see an increase in cases, then we can dial back a bit. And I think that's the way it's going to go until we have a vaccine. You kind of open things up and you wait and see, and if you have some transmission, you're going to have to bring it back, take it back a notch.
The new report is providing a startling look at long-term care deaths during the COVID-19 crisis. It shows more than twice as many deaths in Canadian homes compared to other countries. And that's prompting new questions for the Ford government over the steps they're taking in those homes to prepare for a second wave of the virus. Colin DeMello reports.
During the course of the pandemic, COVID-19 took an unexpected turn. Hospitals were largely spared, but long-term care homes were devastated.
Long-term care in Canada was particularly hard hit.
The Canadian Institute for Health Information analyzed Canada's pandemic response compared to other developed countries. It found that 81% of all Canadian COVID-19 deaths were in long-term care. That's twice the average of other countries, including the United States and Spain. Researchers say it's largely because they implemented lockdown and testing measures much earlier in the pandemic.
Those countries did better, and they had less deaths and less infections overall than Canada.
The analysis was met with acknowledgement in Ottawa.
What this recent report has shown, and quite frankly what this pandemic has shown from the very beginning, is that the job isn't being adequately done in long-term care.
But here in Ontario, where more than 1,800 seniors have died, Premier Ford was on the defensive.
I just think it's a little unfair. They're comparing us to Spain, and I'll tell the people out there, so all of Canada is 6,900 deaths, and as far as I'm concerned, it's 6,900 too many. But guess what? They're comparing 6,900 in Canada to Spain, that has 18,000 deaths in long-term care?
The government implemented an action plan in April that eventually saw all staff and residents tested, better infection control, and the deployment of the Canadian military. But many are wondering if the government is prepared for a second wave.
And are those practices that are happening good enough now to help fend off the next wave?
The government says it is placing limits in nursing homes, 2 people to a room, continuing safety protocols for visitors and staff, and continuing testing. It's also preparing for flu season.
So we have ordered extra vaccines of the higher level dosage for seniors.
It's an additional layer of protection, the minister says, for the province's most vulnerable residents.
The mayor of Oliver Papoonge says her municipality is pleased that Thunder Bay City Council has once again voted against passing the bylaw to implement a designated truck route through the city. The designated route would have taken big trucks off of Dawson Road and West Arthur Street and sent them along Highway 1117 through Kekabeka Falls. Mayor Lucy Kloosterhuis has been firmly opposed to that plan for years. She's now hoping the city will work with Oliver Papoonge on any future plans involving a truck route. And she wants all municipalities in the Thunder Bay area to work together to pressure the MTO to complete the Chappaqua extension, along with turning the Thunder Bay Expressway into a divided highway with off-ramps and overpasses. Meanwhile, City Council has doubled up on a loan program to help homeowners replace lead water pipes on their property. During the 2020 budget process, Council agreed to take $50,000 from reserves to fund the program, which offers residents interest-free loans of up to $3,000. But this week, Council decided to up that fund to $100,000. The city is replacing its portion of lead service connections to nearly 300 homes this year, but residents are responsible for changing out the pipes buried under their own properties. Increasing the fund will allow all of those homeowners to apply for the loan if they choose, so the municipal and private work can be done at the same time, reducing some of the costs to the residents. About 8,700 homes in the city will have lead service connections. Current River Councillor Andrew Folds, who first asked for the program, says removing those lead pipes will benefit the community for generations to come.
There is a broader public interest to this because although it will immediately benefit those homeowners by, we're obviously changing the lead on our side, they change the lead on their side, that lead on their side will benefit the next household owner and the next one. And so there will be generations of households that will benefit from this program.
Most of the loans are to be paid back over 5 years, but those who qualify for Thunder Bay's low income tax and water credits can take up to 10 years to pay back the money. The town of Atikokan is getting $4.6 million from senior levels of government, which will allow the municipality to repave nearly 30% of its roads. Nearly $3 million is coming from the federal government, while the province is kicking in more than $1.6 million. That money is being distributed through the Rural Northern Infrastructure Program. It is meant to spur the local economy in the wake of COVID-19. Mayor Dennis Brown calls it a once-in-a-generation opportunity to improve the condition of the town's roads.
the infrastructure that we have in Atikokan, it doesn't stay permanent forever. That's why we certainly have to work with both levels of government, with the province of Ontario and with the federal government, because we certainly can't do that ourselves.
There's some pretty significant potholes. I think some of them that were actually going to stock with fish. They were so big. But the federal government is still looking to put more money into infrastructure programs because, yes, I think generally it's regarded as one of the ways out of the economic quagmire caused by the COVID-19 outbreak is to put more money into infrastructure programs.
Meanwhile, the town of Hornpain will be getting $4.5 million under the program earmarked for airport improvements, including repaving their runway. White River will receive $1.5 million for road repairs and paving, and the township of Chapel will get more than $330,000 for road improvements. Well, it was a return to class, sort of, for several Thunder Bay High School students today. Westgate Collegiate, Hammarskjold High, and Superior Collegiate each held open houses, welcoming graduates back inside for photos and one last farewell stroll. Avery McRae has that story.
Anyone who does come to Westgate, just always feel free to try something new, and just it's the best 4 years of your life.
For Westgate graduate Brandon Reefus, saying goodbye wasn't easy. From 11 until 3, graduates stepped foot back inside the place where they had spent the last 4 years of their lives. The Lakehead School Board's administrative team looked outside the box for the idea, as traditional graduation practices could not be observed due to the ongoing pandemic. Reefus admits it was a challenging year between the teacher strikes and COVID-19, but appreciates the work the staff has put into making the final year memorable.
It's amazing to see all the teachers and all that helping us make it feel like we have a real graduation happening for us, because they could just say, it's COVID-19, you're graduated, and just mail us out a diploma, but it's actually so nice that they're taking the effort and the time to make it feel like it's the large event, which it is.
They truly have done an amazing job, and I want to thank the students, the parents, and our school communities for being supportive in unprecedented times, and going forward, we hope it's going to get better.
The day also served as a chance for students to return in their gowns and V-stoles, as well as textbooks, school devices, and uniforms. Westgate is hopeful that it can eventually hold a ceremony to honor grads in a more traditional fashion. Principal Coral Shishka is holding out hope for an event this fall, and she says it was exciting to give students the chance for one last walk through the halls.
Very, very excited to be back. I mean, they spent 4 years in this building, and this is a big deal. They need to say goodbye properly.
We'll take it a step at a time, making sure that everything we do is in the best interest of the health and welfare of our students and our school communities.
Avery McRae, TVT News.